Hi, I'm Lisa, and this is my dad.
Hi, I'm Eric.
And we want to welcome you to Project Parkinson's, a holistic approach to Parkinson's disease. Um, we created this platform because my dad has been on this wellness journey for many years now, and um, early on, he decided he wanted to take a more holistic approach to how he treated this condition. And I think I've been his caretaker now for about 6 months, and working with him, I think there's a lot of useful information that we could share with other people who might want to take this same journey, a more holistic journey with Parkinson's, that would save them some time. We can share sort of things that have worked, things that haven't worked, some of the true successes and things that you could just avoid in your own journey. So I wanted to just start then with asking my dad a little bit about your experience with Parkinson's. When were you diagnosed with Parkinson's?
I was diagnosed in the spring of 2009.
And what was that like? What was happening in your life at the time? And
Well, I was busy, I'm sure. We were busy in business. And I was at a wake for a funeral with you, actually.
yeah,
And I was having trouble peeling the wrapper off a piece of candy or a little piece of cake. And you said that you had noticed that before. Maybe it was neurological. So about that time, within a month or so, I went to see my primary doctor. This was interesting. She took about 5 minutes with me. She said, "You have Parkinson's disease." It was like somebody shot me with a gun. He punched me in the chest or something. It took my breath away. There was no preamble, nothing. She set me down. She said, "You have Parkinson's." And I knew from other reading that it's not curable. So I was pretty shocked when it happened.
yeah, that's a pretty devastating blow,
It was.
and not a very holistic way to let somebody know life changing news like that.
Yeah. I mean, there was no statistics like, except the average person that has Parkinson's lives about 20 more years.
Right.
So I'm halfway through that now.
Well, I mean, I think another aspect of Project Parkinson's is that we're working on eliminating limited thinking. Ways of looking at illness more as like living with a certain condition rather than as like this is the end of the road. Because clearly, 11 years later,
Yeah,
people looking at you would say, "Wow, your dad looks really healthy," and by and large, you are.
that's true.
You know.
I don't get sick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had a couple little questions that I prepared here. Um, so why were you interested in a more holistic approach? You get this like news that's been delivered in a pretty dramatic way without a lot of. I mean, what were her suggestions? What was she offering you at that time?
Carbidopa levodopa is the standard treatment for Parkinson's in allopathic medicine. So rather than just say, okay, let's do it, I sat down and did some research on it and found that there are a lot of side effects from the medication that you take for Parkinson's. And once they come on, they're permanent. It's not like you just stop taking the medicine and get rid of them. They're there. So I figured, let's try some other things first before we do that. Because I had symptoms, but it wasn't like I was incapacitated at the time. So I did more research, looked into qigong, more things like yoga, things like that, and natural or like herbs and homeopathic and things like that. Tried a number of different things. And for the first couple of years, that's what I really did, was look at alternatives and just give this a try and that a try. Nothing dramatic, just little shifts here and there in behavior.
So what prompted you then to actually take the pharmaceutical drugs at the time that you did? Because eventually your symptoms were increasing in nature, and I know that you did take the levodopa carbidopa cocktail.
Well, that was it. I mean, in spite of what I was doing, I was getting more and more symptomatic. So I thought, well, I mean, I haven't really hit on the thing yet that's going to do it for me, so I'll try the pharmaceutical approach. That was several years in, and I tried it for a couple of years. And at first it was okay, but as time went on, I gradually didn't like taking the medication. And at one point I started getting some dyskinesias, some crazy movements and stuff.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is not what I want to do. I gotta try something different. This is not going to work long term. So
yeah, because those dyskinesias, that's like that can become a permanent side effect. So you're dealing with symptoms that are sort of mild in nature, and then you're introducing this drug that's helping you with certain motor skills, but then it's increasing these crazy movements. So it's like you're trading one symptom for another. Basically.
Well, the carbidopa, the half of that cocktail, carbidopa levodopa, the carbidopa is designed to reduce the nausea from taking the levodopa, because levodopa, which is the real thing that actually acts on the symptoms, is nausea producing.
I can speak to that a little bit, because when you're taking either synthetic or natural levodopa, because we're going to talk about that in a minute, about Mucuna, which is a natural levodopa product. When you're taking either synthetic or natural, when you're flooding your body with that much levodopa, and it's getting across the blood-brain barrier because your neurotransmitters aren't working correctly. It's something called dopa decarboxylase that you don't want that to happen before. You don't want the dopa to convert to dopamine before it crosses the blood-brain barrier. And so if you're not taking carbidopa with the L-dopa, then you're getting this excess of dopamine that causes nausea. As far as Mucuna goes, like my dad eventually started taking Mucuna, and we found something pretty amazing that also acts like carbidopa and prevents that nausea that occurs. And it's just a simple green tea extract pill, but we'll get to that. So continue. Go ahead.
You remind
You were talking about taking the drugs and the nausea you were getting nausea even with the pharmaceutical drugs, that the carbidopa was there.
Yes. So from there, I researched more and found, never hadn't hit on Mucuna yet, but I found something in India. Wasn't sure of the name of it exactly, but I found a neurologist in India who had claimed to be a cure for Parkinson's. I talked to him several times on the phone, or 12-hour time zone difference made it difficult to actually be there. I never actually did go meet him, but we talked about it pretty extensively over the phone and by fax and email. And so I started his regimen, did that for a couple of years, and got some initial success out of it. The nausea was definitely reduced. There were some problems in terms of communication between the languages and the way that it was packaged. That was a difficult thing for me. So eventually I had to stop and find something else. And it was in that next search that I was making, that I found Mucuna. I read about a study that was done where a number of patients were given Mucuna, this drug called Mucuna prurens, and they had much reduced symptoms and so on for about 12 hours. So I got in touch with the doctor who was involved in the study in Minneapolis, and he told me that he had a network of doctors that use this protocol, and the closest one to me was New Jersey. I tried and reached Dr. Christian Enescu there in New Jersey, neurologist.
Holistic neurologist.
Correct. And he uses this Mucuna prurens as part of his practice. So that began to really get us where we are today. That was about 3 years ago or so.
Yeah, and does Dr. Enescu participate in that Dr. Marty Hines, that protocol with the amino acids?
That's right.
That's right? Did I get it right? Marty Hines?
Marty Hines, you're right.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember that name earlier. So yes, so they have, Dr. Hines had developed a protocol for use by neurologists around the country who would sign on to his protocol. And so Dr. Enescu did, and I went and visited with Dr. Enescu and bought into his concept, which was very holistic, and included not only the mucuna parens that would take the place of the carbidopa levodopa, but
Well, it only takes the place of the levodopa.
That's correct.
Which we discovered, but continue, yeah.
But also the other things that help improve your baseline health to be able to fight the Parkinson's disease.
Like what?
Like what do you mean?
Like what do you mean? You said other things. You
mean
like
the
neuro replete, the cis replete? Okay, so he basically has this. Dr. Hines has this protocol of amino acids that are supposed to support neurotransmitter function. So it's very complicated, and you have to have like these holistic neurologists that really know what they're doing. So again, like I just want to say, I'm not a medical professional. He's not. We're not giving you medical advice with by sharing this. We're just saying this worked for my dad, and you definitely want to talk to a doctor, a neurologist, before attempting this protocol. You'll find if you go online, you can buy Mucuna online, but it's not standardized, and that's a real problem, is making sure that you have the right percent of L-DOPA in the Mucuna product. And most of the things online, they can't offer that standardization. So working with Dr. Enescu, he has access to this amino acids supplementary kind of protocol along with the Mucuna parens, which is in a powder form. And we'll make other videos where you can kind of to demystify how you use it, and you weigh it out and you add it to a liquid, and it's not that complicated, and it doesn't have the same side effects as the L-DOPA. You don't get the dyskinesias at all, and once you've kind of find your dose, you don't have to keep titrating. You can just stay at your dose. I mean, given the standardization issues, you might have to change every so often, but pretty much it's a regimented dose. So when you were on the Mucuna, you were on it for several years.
Correct.
And honestly, when COVID started and we ended up sheltering in place together, and I was helping you out, you were still struggling a lot with nausea from Mucuna. And I think, I started reading into it, like there's got to be something he can do for this nausea. What was that like? I mean, you did this for years. I feel like will of steel that you put up with this symptom because you didn't want to have the pharmacological side effects, which are permanent, but you put up with this constant nausea.
It was terrible, actually, and it was constant. So I mixed Mucuna 3 times a day, and so it would take me between 1 and 2 hours, 1 and 3 hours to get over the nausea. So that's 3 times a day I'm going through that, and
yeah, it's not a way to live.
No, and so what would happen is I'll get I get nauseated just thinking about it. So I would start cutting back on the Mucuna to reduce the effect. Well, then you reduce the benefits of the Mucuna significantly. So I find I reach a sweet spot where I get nothing. I get nothing, no benefit from the Mucuna, and I'd be nauseous at the same time. So it was like, so then I started bumping it back up again, and I'd be nauseous again.
Yeah.
And so that was not a good answer for me long term.
No, and I was getting really frustrated because I did talk to Enescu about it, and he was, I'm not trying to throw him under the bus because he's actually a wonderful doctor, but he would give us suggestions. Take a little more neuroreplete. Don't take the cis replete in the morning, which I think that also alleviated some of the nausea to take it with food starting after 12 p.m. But it was definitely not the issue. So I was doing Reiki on him one night, and I just asked, like his higher self, I just asked, what can I do about this? What can we do? There has to be something. And his higher self directed me to look online, and that look that up specifically, how to reduce nausea with Mucuna, and that he would guide me and help me find the right information. Not sure what you believe, but this is a holistic approach to Parkinson's disease.
Hey, it worked.
And I looked it up, and I found this article, which I'll share in the comments, and I'll put it up. It's already on Linktree, actually, which you can see in the in my bio on Instagram. So I found this article, Mucuna and Parkinson's Disease Treatment with Natural Levodopa, and it's by Rafael Gonzalez Maldonado. And he goes into great detail about the wonderful benefits of mucuna, and I'll read you just a couple little excerpts that I thought were really important. Mucuna is neuroprotective. It seems that natural levodopa from mucuna, or the whole of the components in this legume, is non-toxic and even neuroprotective. This has been demonstrated in mice with experimentally induced Parkinsonism, which were given synthetic levodopa or mucuna. Those treated with mucuna experienced an improvement in most of the symptoms. Also, when they were slaughtered 1 year later for brain analysis, it was found that the endogenous contents of levodopa, dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin in the substantia nigra were significantly restored. Okay, so I don't think anything that allopathic medicine has to offer shows that kind of neuroprotective quality. Now, as relates to the green tea discovery, which was the big light bulb moment, the big aha, one can also add green tea. Its polyphenols are inhibitors of dopa decarboxylase, like carbidopa, further reinforcing the levodopa. The overall bioavailability of levodopa will be improved. In some patients, a spectacular result has been obtained, as we have previously published. And so I'm going to read you just a little bit more about this carbidopa effect, because remember, when you're taking the pharmaceutical cocktail, you take the L-dopa and you take carbidopa. Well, in this case, you're taking the mucuna pruriens for the levodopa, and then you're taking the green tea extract for the carbidopa effect, for that inhibiting of the dopa decarboxylase. So the carbidopa-like effect. There is something in green tea that acts like carbidopa. It contains polyphenols, which inhibit dopa decarboxylase, an action similar to that carried out by the carbidopa or benserazide contained in Sinemet or Matapar. And then further, it doesn't stop there, all the amazing benefits of this green tea, entacapone-like effect. In addition, there is something that acts like entacapone in green tea. Polyphenol epigallocatechin gallate, we just call that EGCG for short, promotes the entry into the brain of levodopa and prolongs its bioavailability in the bloodstream because it inhibits the COMT enzyme. This action is similar to that of entacapone, namely that beans mixed with green tea have Stalevo-like effects, but with different proportions. Okay, so I find this information. We get Dad some green tea, and the effects were dramatic. I mean, the nausea almost went away like that. And what we noticed was that the bioavailability, meaning the amount of dopamine that was then available, as well as the length of the on time with the mucuna, was greatly extended. So whereas before we might have this window of on time that was maybe 30 minutes sometimes, or an hour, I mean, it was just very inconsistent. Now we have this window now from dose to dose, I would say. It starts to maybe drop off a little bit, but from dose to dose, you have this on time with the medicine, and you're able to proceed with your day.
Pretty close.
Is that accurate?
Pretty close.
So tell us, what was your experience taking the green tea? I'm sorry, I'm talking so much. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, it didn't work immediately, but over the course of about a week or so, I was noticing the difference. At first I was still experiencing some nausea and wondered if it was the green tea was really the right way to go.
Well, I think it was because we were also trying to figure out which green tea, which supplement to take. We bought a couple different things.
Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, I noticed the bioavailability issue right away. It was dramatic.
We had gotten to the place where some days the on time would be zero.
Yeah.
Go through a complete day with no on time at all. So I was pretty discouraged. I needed something better. And I would say in the course of a week or so, about 10 days, I got to really, where I was getting benefit all day long from it.
Yeah. So I think what we'll do is, like I said, we'll share some more about the green tea in subsequent videos because I don't want to take up much more time with this introductory video. And if you have any questions or comments, please put them in the comments section. Do you have anything else you want to share about this experience? Because we'll have more of these talks.
I don't think I have much to share except to say that it's been an interesting few weeks. It feels like a change is in the air for me. I feel like I've turned a corner. So I'm looking forward to getting back out there and, interacting with the world a little bit more.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, well, thanks for watching. And again, green tea extract, I'll have more posts about it, combined with mucuna, eliminates that nausea and is a real game changer for people who want a holistic approach to Parkinson's.